The spelling is literally ESPRE.
I
It's not
know.
EX. Why is this happening?
So I just Googled my name. Big
Mm.
mistake.
It's fake. It's not real. There is no unspoken meaning.
I think some people don't know what they're supposed to be angry about.
I would rather be the one that got away.
You could have like a whole life with someone and then you're supposed to act like kind of like
Yeah.
it never happened.
I think it's very rare that friendship as exes will work for both people. Hey, welcome back. We're not for everyone. We're a lover and a hater. I'm Jess. That's Caroline. We're wearing our lover and hater merch hats today. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it. And I feel really like branded. Like I feel really good about that actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I put my hater hat on and then Jess was like, should I put on my lover hat? That no, that's crazy. I was like, well, I think it makes a lot of sense actually.
I don't think we've ever worn them at the same time. I wonder if we've
Knowingly.
okay.
We've probably worn them at the same time in different states.
That's what I was thinking. Like that would make me feel really connected to you. Actually, you said something. You texted me something this week about us being connected to each other. And you said,
Oh,
I said I didn't want to impose. I'm coming to DC. I wanted to sleep over at your house. I wanted to invite myself. I also thought, don't impose, Jessica. We just had a conversation last week where we talked about not loving hosting people that much.
oh, having you isn't
And
hosting. It's not hosting. It would
well,
never be
I'm glad you
hosting.
feel that way. And I do think I'm a really easy guest, but then you just went ahead and did the invite. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought you'd never ask. I didn't want to impose, but I had the same idea. And you said to me that that what did you say? You are inside of me. It wouldn't
Did,
be hosting.
oh, did I say that?
That is what you said in your text. Yes, you said
Oh,
you are inside of me. I
oh,
I'm printing it to frame in my room.
I had no idea, but that does make sense.
So you that means that you really said it like authentically, like you weren't trying to
Yeah.
be funny,
I think it's just what came out of me, like a burp.
like me coming out
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah, you coming out of me.
Anyway, what's happening with you?
Mostly I keep choking because I just went and like emergency ate my lunch before recording this and then I wanted to emergency brush my teeth and I've never done this before but I inhaled all the toothpaste. I'm like choking on toothpaste right now.
Wow.
It's minty but it feels dirty. Um
Oh,
I don't
because it
know.
has like salad in it or what?
I mean it was in my mouth.
Oh,
You
okay.
know? Okay, so that's happening. I did before we sat down though, you shared a story. There's a broken picture frame behind you. What
Hmm.
wait, tell me it made me laugh so hard. What happened with this picture
Oh,
frame?
well, I hung this new artwork. I talked about it in my last Just Thoughts episode, this artwork that I bought for my bedroom to go over my bed. And I hung it. It had been up for like a month. And then one day I was laying in bed. I got up to go to the bathroom. I heard a sound. And when I came back from the bathroom, the whole picture, which is a pretty big one, in like a glass, nice, heavy frame, had just fallen on top of my bed where I had been laying 3 minutes prior. And it had been hung up for days and days. Like I had been sleeping there every night with the artwork
Oh my
there for
God.
days and days.
What actually happened? Did like the nail come out of the wall or was there
No,
a
I think something's wrong with the frame. Like the frame broke at one of the corners. And then once that
Oh.
happened,
Oh my God.
it made it so that I don't know,
It
so
like
that
came
it
loose?
couldn't stay hung up. Yeah.
That's a terrifying moment. When I was in high school, in my childhood bedroom, I had a floor length mirror, just like a pretty basic floor length mirror that might go like on the inside door of your closet or behind your door or something like that. But I hung it above my bed, like up on the bed. I don't know why on the wall. I was just experimenting. I was just trying shit
Like
and
sideways.
not sideways, like tall ways. I don't know why.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
She's always been a visionary. Just
the
straight up, just
visionary,
erect
just
above the
straight
bed.
up. Yeah, it was like this the most erect mirror. And my bed was in a corner, so it wasn't over my. It wasn't behind my head. It was like to the right, like the wall on the right of my head, but it was exactly over my head. And one night I woke up in the middle of the night so suddenly, and all of a sudden I was just awake and had a really bad headache.
Oh,
And I was just like, had just, I don't know, I had just been sleeping. So I was disoriented and I was like, oh, that's weird. Well, I go back to sleep. And in the morning I woke up and the mirror is shattered all over the floor.
oh my
Shattered all over
God.
the floor. And I just wish I had footage of a full length mirror dropping on my head in the middle of the night.
Oh,
And then me
wait.
sitting up, and all of a sudden, they're just lying back down.
So you didn't hear anything when it happened? Or you just woke up and you didn't
I
know why you
guess,
woke up?
yeah, I didn't know why. I was just like, I'm awake right now and my head hurts. Yeah, that was
Oh,
it.
do you think you went into like a really quick coma?
Well, I guess I can't know, but people have observed damage. Yeah.
Yeah, ever since
God,
nothing's been the same ever since.
there's cognitive damage. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's wild. Yeah,
It
I'm
made me
pretty
laugh so hard.
I'm pretty haphazard about the way that I hang things. Like
Same,
there are
honestly.
so many holes in the wrong places all around my apartment. Um, command strips are everywhere. Like it's
Yeah.
just I'm really not
Look
good
at
at
my
it.
look at my
Oh
wall
my
right now. Look at my wall right now. You have to watch on YouTube. I had this giant sticky cork board applied to my wall for some videos I did. And I bought it. I'd never purchased this before. I just bought it as a prop for a video. And the reviews on this sticky cork board were like, it fell off my wall in like 3 days. And I was like, perfect. I want it to come off the wall.
Mm.
It did not come off the wall. Justin's been in here laboring over it.
It does look better than we talked on the phone or we did a FaceTime or whatever like 4 days ago. It looks
Yeah.
like there's been improvement since then.
Yeah, there's been
What I
improvement.
really liked is that in your most recent video with your sister, Elizabeth, um, the rude reviews of Gen Z
Yeah.
slang, which by the way, I felt like I should have been in that video. I had so much to say as you guys were talking about it.
I wanted
But
ignorance though. I wanted
I
ignorance,
know I
obvious,
wouldn't I would have it would have been embarrassing how much I knew even more than Julia, who is in Gen Z.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I saw the remnants of that thing on your wall peeking through your artwork and I was like, "Oh God, she had to power through this
And
recording
I
with that."
I know, and I forgot to announce it or like explain, but I also figured like a lot of people watch the other videos, so they'll recognize that. But
They'll
I
get
I
it.
guess a lot of people didn't. And there was like a ton of the comments on that video are like, what is happening on your wall? Which was interesting to see like how many different people will only watch like certain videos
Yeah.
because you can't tell from the comments. It just made me realize I kind of figure it's the same people there every time commenting, but it's like totally different crowds. And it also like I don't know, I kind of enjoyed not answering all the questions. Like
Yeah.
I think
It's not an important question.
I also got some feedback after that video. Okay, I have a little bit of event. You want to hear event?
Yeah, oh please.
Okay. So I found some like hateful comments when I made that video series, which was like I titled it what was it? How I found love despite being an idiot.
Okay.
And there were some comments being like, "Oh, this is so embarrassing. Like she hasn't even known this guy this long. This is such an overshare. What an overshare. La 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 la."
Mm,
And which is fine. Like it is part of the deal of putting yourself on the internet is like you get the benefits and the cons of being in the public. So like it's part of the deal, whatever. But it did uh hurt for a bunch of reasons, of course. It hurt my feelings so bad. Like I'm talking calmly about it now, but I've been processing it for a few weeks.
yeah.
But at first, at first it bothered me because the point of that video, it was two videos, and like the last maybe like 7 minutes talk about my recent relationship. But the rest of it is just like basically like stand-up comedy about my dating history, which
Yeah.
is what it was supposed to be and what it was. But like I'd watched this video by a girl called 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐿 who does YouTube videos. She's very funny, and she did a video. She had a couple series that were called like an unhinged deep dive into all of Taylor Swift's
Mm.
romantic history, an unhinged deep dive into all of Ariana Grande's romantic history. And I was watching one of those and I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. I wish I could do this, but I would never do it about somebody else. Oh, I could just do it about myself. And so the like working title was an unhinged deep dive into my entire romantic history. Because I want to do more comedy, I want to do more stand up, blah, blah, blah. I can make fun of myself. I'm not going to make fun of somebody else. But then I also didn't want to rip off her title. And so I was like, okay, I've changed the title. And I can't do like a 2-part video series about every boy I've ever dated or hooked up
Right.
with. And like I would feel uncomfortable for my current boyfriend. So like I have to obviously include him. And that seems like a natural end. Like there's a arc to go to. So I ended up titling it like How I Found Love. But 80% of this entire 2-part video, 85% has nothing to do with that relationship. And I say that a
Yeah.
million times. Um, so it hurt to just be like, oh, that wasn't the point of this at all. That
Yeah.
wasn't the point of this at all. Like the point of it was I wanted to do like funny stand-up comedy to like embarrass myself and talk about the real stuff. And then the comment about oversharing, that's a frustrating one on YouTube. I can also understand why they said all of this. I can from their perspective, but ultimately it's like, oh, I didn't tell you anything about my relationship. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
tell you, and like I told you about like 3 or 4 dates. Like I didn't tell a single one of the major plot points to me or the major stories like within this relationship.
Yeah.
There's no overshare at all, but if that's what you hear, I can understand why it would sound like an overshare. Anyway, my point was that I got that comment about the overshare, and I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to tell you stuff anymore. There's something on my wall. I'm not going to explain to you what it is. It sounds like I did an overshare. So you can just wonder now. You can just wonder.
I love that that was the retaliation. Like, okay, I told you, quote, everything about my relationship. So now I will tell you nothing about my wall.
That's the trade-off. That'll get them. I mean, that wasn't really the retaliation, but it
No,
it
I
has
get
just
it.
made me think a lot like in a way I can get the comment. Like, of course, that's the whole point of vlogging. Like people think what they're seeing is your life. And
Yeah.
of course,
It
like
is a
that's the
compliment in
point.
a weird way. It's
That
like,
is the
okay, you
point.
made them feel that you gave a lot. And for people who
Yeah.
like what you do and, are excited about seeing you be funny about your dating history and seeing you talk
Mm-hmm.
about your new relationship and all of these things, like they they will appreciate what is an overshare to some. They'll be like, "Oh my God, she gives
Yeah.
so much to us." So there's no winning, there's no balance, and obviously you're
Yeah.
not going to get everyone, but that's still hard because I remember in that video too, the first part of the video, I think, and maybe you reiterated it, but you talked about something that you also talked about in a solo episode here of like you could just not talk about your current relationship and not put it out there, and that putting it out there will like open it to criticism and might seem like you're being one of those people who's in a relationship and is saying that they like have all the answers all of the sudden because of that, but that's like
Mm-hmm.
not the intention, and it's the exact opposite of what you want to do, and you want to poke
That's why
fun
I
at
want to
yourself.
talk
Like
about all my
you
fuck
gave
ups.
that
Yeah.
yeah, you gave that preface. So I honestly think it's just people who are
Yeah.
sorry to say jealous and who are probably dealing with their own stuff in this department. And okay, the video's not for them right now or maybe ever.
Yeah.
But I know that, I mean, that would have hurt me too. I think it's the reason that I
I
do
know.
hold back a lot of things. And I
Yeah.
feel like the podcast is an overshare in a lot of ways, but I still
Totally.
hold back
Well,
plenty of
that's the
things.
thing. That's what happens. I mean, I knew it would happen. It's inevitable. I think part of what freaked me out, there were a bunch more it was a Reddit thread actually. And it was this whole Reddit thread and there were many much
About you and your video? Why
yeah,
are you
and then
there?
and then just about me. You know why? Because I am giving a talk at our middle school tomorrow. And that's yeah. And I had to put together like a little bio and I was trying to find all the publications that I'd been published in. Like there's an Arc Digest article, there's a House and Garden, and I couldn't remember them all and I haven't saved them all. So I just Googled my name, big
Mm,
mistake. And
hmm.
then I saw this like very recent like Reddit thread of Caroline Winkler like hating on me. And They were really, really hurtful things. It
That's
was really,
fucked.
it really hurt my feelings. But it also is, um, it's just part of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it just made you immediately not want to. I can totally see how every vlogger, YouTuber, like they hit a point, they're open, they're just a person who starts sharing things, and then like eventually the tides turn because that's what happens, and then they don't seem real because they're not sharing anything,
Hmm.
or they only share the good stuff, or they only share whatever, and it's like, yeah, that's the consequence. Why do you think people are like that? That's what happens.
That conversation has come up a lot recently for some reason. I think the impetus in my world anyway was this podcast called Las Culturistas with
Yeah,
um
I know it.
Bowen
Mhm.
Yang from SNL and Matt Rogers, who is another performer in New York and one of his friends. And it's a really funny podcast. It's like pop culture. And they had Tina Fey on recently. And Tina Fey basically roasted Bowen Yang. So, like an SNL legend and alum
Mhm.
roasting this newer SNL guy because he shared very openly on a episode of his podcast his opinion of I think the movie Saltburn and that he like didn't like it very much and here are the reasons why. And she kind of teased him and roasted him and was like, "You are way too famous now to say your real opinion about anything." Um,
Wow.
Obviously, like it was no harm, no foul when it came to his opinion of the movie, but it was like this larger
Wow.
conversation that they ended up having. I'll send it to you and I can put it in
Oh
the
my
description too for
gosh.
people who are interested. But they had this larger conversation about exactly what you're saying. Like the thing that makes celebrities, comedians, especially when they're people who like what their product is themselves
Hmm.
being authentic and like saying your real opinion and not caring what people think and XYZ
Yeah.
is what makes people drawn to you. And they're like, oh, she's so different. She's so bold. She says what she thinks. Like it's so refreshing. And then there comes a point when you get to a certain level, a certain number of eyes on you, a
When you're
certain
no longer
level
an
of,
underdog, there's a bell
right.
curve. Like when you're an underdog and you're an exception and you're fighting against something and you're the small guy and you're someone they've discovered or you're going against the mainstream, it's easier to have a lot of favor. I literally talked about it in videos like many videos ago. I think I made a video when I got like my 100,000 subscriber plaque. And people are like, "How do you feel
Mm,
about it?" And I talked about it in the video. I was just like, "Well, it's going to turn. It's going to end." Because that's the bell curve. Like eventually, like the better quote, the more success, quote unquote, I have on YouTube, the closer I'm getting to people hating me. And I can see that just because I've watched other people from a
yeah.
distance, climb on YouTube or whatever, it doesn't just go up infinitely. It's like the more success you get, the closer you get to hearing a more, varied spectrum of opinions. And so when I saw like some really like hurtful comments, I guess, I was just like, oh, is this the beginning of the end?
Mm.
Is this
But you
it?
know that those things are in pockets, like there were probably way more positive comments on that video than these negative ones. If you had never ended up on the Reddit thread, you would be blissfully ignorant to that. And Reddit
I
is like a
know.
cesspool of shit talking because
I
people are
know.
anonymous. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, and I'm not
Yeah.
belittling how much that probably sucked, but I also would hope that there's still enough of the
I
good, you
know.
know?
I know. It just took me a little while to like sit with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of sent me on a spiral. I had like a hard time putting out my next video because I was just like, well, what if they hate this and blah blah blah. And um anyway, what were you saying about the Tina Fey thing? I want to hear the rest of that. That sounds very interesting.
Oh, well, it was actually inspired by I can never remember or pronounce her last name. Let me make sure I get it right. The actress who is on The Bear, her name is Ayo Edebiri. She's
Mm-hmm.
like blowing up right now. She, for a long time, has been doing stand up and comedy and like having appearances here and there in shows and movies. But because of being in The Bear and then being in this movie Bottoms and a few others recently, she's blowing up and she just hosted SNL a couple weeks ago. And the musical guest with her on SNL was J Lo, and J Lo is that level of fame and notoriety that like every hot take possible has been said on J-Lo.
Right,
People
right.
love her, people hate her, people say everything in between. She's been around forever, she's done it all, and every opinion is out there on her. And that's just the way it is when you're like that big. So
Right.
Io's hosting SNL with J-Lo as the musical guest, and people dug up online an appearance of Io on some podcast a couple years ago when she
Oh
wasn't really
shit.
that big,
Oh
like
shit.
shit talking J-Lo,
Oh
and
shit.
made it a whole thing of like now you're pretending to love her, hosting SNL side by side with her, but just two
Oh
years ago on
shit.
this podcast you said something. I think it was a pretty harmless thing. I mean, it's not a hot take that J Lo is like not that talented. Lots of people say that about her. I'm not saying it.
Mm.
If I'm hosting SNL in five
I
years with
didn't know
J
that was
Lo, I
something
never
people
said it,
said. I
but
actually didn't
that's
know
a
that
thing
was something
people
people
say.
said. Oh,
And
okay, okay.
so she got a lot of flack for it, and people were like, "You're too big now," and people are going to start digging up this stuff on you. And then that's when Tina Fey gave that same advice to Bowen Yang, like, "You saw what happened to Io. You got to watch yourself now too," you know. And Tina was
Damn.
talking about in her own career how that kind of like bell curve happened. And now she's a lot more behind the scenes, like does a lot more production and writing.
Right,
And
right.
I think that's part of the
Interesting.
reason. Yeah.
That's interesting. The thing I tell myself at this point is like sometimes I get caught up worrying about that as if I'll be so like big and
Yeah.
anyone gives a fuck.
But you were.
And then I remember like, okay, if that becomes a real problem, like things have gone very well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really a real problem right now. But I don't know. Do you ever get caught up in those things and you're like, who are you even talking about? Like nobody cares who you are. It's
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
But
I
if
just
that's a
the other
problem,
day in
yeah.
my own little world of like the 3,000 followers that I have on Instagram, I posted the other day, you know how Spotify does these day lists now where like AI creates
Oh,
a
I didn't
playlist
see
for
it.
you based on what you typically listen to that day and time and whatever. So, and they always name them really funny things. So people will post them to their stories and be like, Spotify is recommending that I listen to like Heroin Addict Wednesday. Like, what's that about? And so it suggested something for me that was like 2010s freaky something. It was like a really kind of ratchet, like horny type of name. And I was like, hell yeah, they got me right. This is exactly the music that I want. And so I took a screenshot and posted it to my story. And literally the only text I wrote was like, true, true, true. And people are agreeing and liking it and laughing and whatever. And then one person DM'd me, and it was in like the requests. It's not somebody that I follow, and said, in this playlist, okay, I took a screenshot. There's three songs that show in the screenshot, and it's just the first three songs that were on the playlist that Spotify created. And one of them is by Chris Brown. And somebody DM, and I had the thought before posting it of like, should I crop
Mm,
out the Chris Brown
my
song?
God. Oh
And then I
my
was like,
God.
whatever, whatever, whatever. It's a song.
I'm sure
It
that that
exists.
person, I'm sure that that person lives a faultless life.
Right, right.
Right.
So they just wrote and said Chris
Yeah, that's
Brown
good.
assaulted Rihanna, period. It was like the most to the point, short, like annoying,
You could have just sent her
as though
back
I
your
didn't
own
know
Snapple
that.
fact. Just send her your
Right.
own Snapple fact.
I wanted to just be like, and Spotify used AI to create this playlist based on things I listened to in middle
You know what,
school.
Jess? It's
Like,
actually, if you think about it, if you took a second to fucking think about it, it's kind of like you assaulted Rihanna.
mm-mm. That's how it felt for a second. I was like,
Yeah.
shit, what did
Did
I
I do that?
did
Did
I
I
did I do that?
do it?
No,
Yeah.
but that's really how they wanted me to feel, or I don't know what the intention of that is. It's I don't
I
know.
think some people don't know what they're supposed to be angry about necessarily.
Yeah,
I
I
think
can give you
sometimes
a
they
lot more things.
give you more things. I think some people don't know what they're supposed to be angry about. And I think usually when I get comments like that, it's from very young people. It's usually
Yeah.
from very, very young. Like, you shouldn't do this. You're forgetting about this. You do this. And
Mm.
it's never from older, more mature
Seasoned.
people. Yeah, more experienced. And I know that a lot of people, a lot of older people probably have the same opinion, but it's part of, I think there's a thing when you're younger where it's just very loud, the voice of like what we're all supposed to be doing, what we're all supposed
Right
to be
and
saying.
wrong.
And if you haven't like figured out your own priorities, then here's one for you. Follow this one, say this one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. And yeah, you're so right. Like they didn't know what to be mad about. Are you mad that Chris Brown assaulted Rihanna, or are you mad that
No,
I posted to remind people that
right.
Chris Brown exists? The man has had a successful music career
Yeah.
since then, and that's a questionable thing that we can talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But the song
They're
existing in a
mhm.
screenshot of a pre-made playlist is like not the problem. Like there I would be happy to talk about the problem,
Yeah.
you know.
And honestly, I don't actually think they're mad. I think they're pretty happy to have found someone that they can correct.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
you made
it.
their you made their day.
Well, happy to. My mom always says something. I mean, she's often like the butt of jokes in our family just because that's the way it goes when you're a mom. And she will always be like in her little cute Lebanese accent, she'll be like, "I'm glad I'm providing you entertainment." And that's how I
Yeah.
feel with shit like this. I'm like, "Okay, glad I gave you your thing for the day that you got to
Yeah.
like snap at somebody about. Cool. Entertained? Check." Maybe that can be what you remind her. Just have my mom's voice in your head. You're providing people
I
entertainment
know.
when they criticize your videos, you know? They're
Oh,
still watching.
cried myself to sleep.
Let's go to happier things. Well,
Yeah.
potentially, or just like continue the spice and feist.
Yeah.
But we're going to do hot takes today because it's been a little while and we got so many good submissions this time.
Yeah, we did.
I was just getting fired up even reading them. So, hot takes, just as a reminder, this is our segment that we do sometimes where listeners write in with a topic that they want us to give a hot take on, and we give mostly lukewarm, but sometimes warmer than that takes that are very reasonable, but
That are very
we'll
reasonable.
yell very reasonable takes. And that's like what happens here.
That's so true.
Do you want to start?
Do you have one you're dying to start with?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, give it to
Yeah.
me. So I don't know which ones you selected, but I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. We both chose our favorites and we don't know what the other chose. So immediately, first one, people who say espresso, espresso. I go back to kindergarten. Honestly, grow up. It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. Not because, okay, espresso can be seen as maybe a very like cultured, uppity, like, oh, it's not just coffee, it's espresso. It's like for bougie people in Italy or something. I'm not coming from that point of view. I'm
You
not
get it.
saying,
You get it at Starbucks. It's not so bougie
yeah,
anymore.
they have it everywhere. If you drink a latte, you can get that anywhere. But
Yeah.
you can get it at Dunkin'. America runs on it. It's not just the bougie places. But so it's less about that and it's more just about like the spelling is literally ESPRE.
I
It's not
know.
EX. Why is this happening? It's the same thing as, oh my God, there's another word that people
Yeah.
mess up. It'll come to me. And it just is so childish when these certain words, it's like you're five. We can't talk.
I had a boss who I've talked about on the podcast because I loved her. She was brilliant. She's affected me in so many ways in my last tech job. I fucking loved her. So, so smart. One of the smartest people ever I met. And then also, in addition to that, she would say, especially.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
was
You're
just
right.
like,
That's the one.
I was like, I didn't judge her for it. Doesn't change my opinion of you at all. Like, obviously, that doesn't have to do with intelligence or anything. But I'm just like, how did that one slip through the cracks?
Yeah,
How did
it
that
did.
one slip through the cracks?
It must
Like,
be
and you're
like
hearing people say this all the
all the
time,
time. It's a common word.
especially. And I'm like, what? How that? I'm just like, how does it happen?
Ugh, I think it's generational. It must be. It's the same as like,
She's like my age. She's like 35.
no, no, no. I mean, it's passed down through the generations. Like
Oh,
the only way that happens is that your
that's
parents said
crazy.
it wrong and so said it wrong and it goes up the family tree. I don't
I
know how
mean,
else. They're not teaching that in schools. The rest of
this
us figured
girl
it out.
is so I truly I was like I was so tempted other than the fact that she's my boss. I was so tempted to her to just be like, "What's the deal with that? Like, how did that happen?
I can't
Truly, how did
explain
that happen?"
the way it makes me so mad and makes my skin crawl. Like I really don't have words for it, but it happens all the time. Those two words, and there's a
Yeah.
couple more, and I can't,
Well, I say words
it
wrong, but I think they're reasonable ones.
stops me in
Like
my tracks.
I
Like
was
smooth with,
I
well, that's
No,
spelling. Smooth is
no, no,
spelling.
that's spelling and I'm correct and everyone else is wrong. The dictionary is wrong. But I was saying lackadaisical, but that's like I'm not hearing somebody say that more than once a century,
Yeah.
you know? So I forgive myself.
Is it lackadaisical?
It's
It's just not.
lackadaisical. It's so
Yeah.
annoying. Yeah.
Um,
Listen,
yeah,
I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes, but especially from a brilliant person, it was so confusing.
it really does. You were saying like it didn't make you lose your opinion of her,
No,
and that's great.
because
I would. I think I I would lose like a little tiny bit of my respect for a person
it
if these
humanized
word
her, I
choices were
guess.
made.
It was
That's
just
true. That's
like
fair.
it did humanize her. But I don't know.
I can't take you seriously. Like we can no longer communicate in this conference room at this office. Meet me at the like crayon table that's low to the ground and we'll talk there. Like I just think it's so I don't
That's so
know. I don't
funny.
know. I hate it. I really hate it and
Okay,
that's
she
the end
hates
of
it.
that.
I'm mesmerized by it. So maybe in a way I love it. Yeah.
Okay, we swapped. Okay, cute.
Always swapping. Okay. Ooh. Okay. I know you have something good to say about this. Somebody wrote in and they want a hot take on the unspoken meaning of likes on stories, on Instagram stories. Like when
I
someone
had this
likes your
one
Instagram
starred.
story.
Hmm.
Yes, I knew that you'll have something good to say. You probably have the answer. If anyone has the answer, it's
I
you.
do. I do, but
Give
go first.
it to me. No, no, no.
Do you want my answer?
I want your answer.
Okay, it's fake. It's not real. There is no unspoken meaning. There's no meaning.
Ooh.
Stop looking for meaning.
Ooh.
The thing that a lot of people get stuck on, especially in dating and
Oh
especially
yeah.
in male female, actually no, not only in male female dynamics, just in dating in general is like, "Oh, he liked my story, she liked my story. What does that mean?" It means nothing. I will take that to the grave, put it on my tombstone. A like on a story means nothing. It means they were letting their stories play because that's what stories do. They go from one to the next to the next.
Yeah.
And they saw yours. They might have not even paid attention to who the name was up there. They might
Mm.
have just liked it because the meme was there. If they did see what the name was, then they were like, oh, let me just like remind them that I exist.
I was
And
gonna
that's
say
it.
okay, I do think it means something. It doesn't mean that
It
they
doesn't
like you
mean
enough to
something
date
good.
you. It doesn't necessarily mean something good. It just means that like I think that guys do send likes on my stories when they're like, "Hey, remember about me? Hey,
Yeah.
remember about me?" It's like they just poked you or like like spat in
A
your face in
poke,
like
a
a
Facebook poke.
Yeah, it's a Facebook poke. It's like, yeah, it's like, "Hi. Hi, look at me." You know?
I guess that's true. Okay, but it doesn't
But
mean
it
something in the
doesn't
sense that
no.
there's not like a deep unspoken meaning of like, oh, he wants
No.
me to text him or
No.
something.
Well, he
Please
would
don't.
probably accept it. He would probably accept it. But if that is somebody's way of quote unquote courting you, liking your story, is not someone you want to date.
It's not courting. It's the
You should,
laziest thing. They're doing it to
that's what I'm
like seven
saying.
different people.
Totally, totally,
Like
totally.
it's not, I guess that's what it is. It could mean something, but it doesn't actually mean something about you with that
No,
person.
just means something about them. It just
Yes.
needs they needed you to look at that. They just needed to be witnessed in that
Validation.
moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
witness me, witness me. I'm here.
Totally, totally. And a lot of times, it depends on who the person is. If it's an ex versus if it's somebody that you haven't dated yet, but you're interested in, like, of course, there's nuance depending on who it is. But in general, it always comes back to that. It's like if they wanted to actually hang out or talk or whatever,
They'll
that
do
would
that.
not be the way that they're
Yeah,
initiating that. So
no.
don't let it mean, it might mean they want attention, but don't let it mean anything to you, I guess is my
Yeah.
point.
Ooh, that's a really good way of putting it.
Thank you so much.
I love that. Okay, give me one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, do this one. Do this one. I want you to do it. The one who got away.
Ooh, baby. I saved that one too. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be super short-winded on this.
Don't.
Okay, I'm going to say it's a fake idea. It's fake.
Okay.
I would say the one that got away is an idea mostly about um what is it? Uh it's like a failure to accept. Um
Mm,
I think it's a
mm.
failure to accept, not just to accept, like someone leaving you, but to accept and understand your own
Roll in
needs,
that.
circumstances, like why decisions were made. Because the idea is usually like, oh, they were such a wonderful person. If only the timing had been different. That doesn't exist. There is only one reality in which the timing didn't work. And you only knew that person in a place where it didn't work for you to work to date because of the timing. And if we could go to a parallel universe where the timing is different, your relationship with that person would also be different. You have no idea what that person would be like or what your dynamic would be like. Oh, if only we weren't both in relationships then, you might have had a lot less chemistry. Oh, if only they didn't live across the country, it might have gone much worse, actually. Like the
Hmm.
idea that there's a life you could be living that isn't the one you've lived, it just like it gets into this thing. I guess I'm not a very regret based person, and I understand that. I mean, I think I know that um, whether I make a decision to see someone, not to see someone, or decision anywhere in life, whether I make a decision consciously, whether it happens because of a mistake I made, something I wish I didn't do, but I did make that mistake, or they made a decision, or they made a mistake. Like they're not actually mistakes. It's like I I did the best with the knowledge and experience I had. So if that was all I could do at the time, I wasn't up to the opportunity of dating this person. I had to grow through something. I had to learn through something. I have an idea of what it would like to be with that person based only on having not been with them, or maybe we dated for a while and I have an idea of what it would be like if we'd stayed together longer, as if there was no reason you broke up at all. It just like it doesn't even make sense to me. I think it
Yeah.
just like it thinks about time and space in a way that doesn't fucking make sense to me. And I
Well, I
think
think
it's a
it,
really easy way to like run your way into yourself into the ground and make yourself miserable over. I just have to assume it's ignoring a bunch of facts.
yeah. Yeah, I think it lacks accountability and like
Yeah, that's a good way.
groundedness in reality. Like it it puts things up to some invisible like fate or something where it's like, oh, they got away. Like it's so wistful, out of my control. Like it just kind of happened. And I'll always wonder, like,
Yeah.
if that's really what happened, I mean, that's just not the way things work. There's always a reason, there's always things you can trace it back to. If it's something you're wondering about, like for real, you always have the ability to
Reach out.
reach out, try again, have a
Yeah.
conversation, whatever. So
If
it just
yeah.
like it separates the person from the need to have to take accountability for like the circumstances that their life or in that relationship has left them in. Um,
You just
I
said that so much better than I did. Yes. Yes. 100% agree.
totally that was the same reaction that I had when I saw this one come through. And then the other reaction I had was like,
Kind of
it,
victimy.
it is
I
victimy.
think it's kind of victimy.
I would rather be the one that got away than be the one saying that there is a one that got away. Like if somebody in the world views me as the one that got away for them, then that's almost affirming that like I'm glad I got away from that because they don't take any fucking accountability for anything. And I'm over here like wistful in the wind. I got away and they still wonder like glad I'm not there anymore and glad that I'm the one in that position as opposed to the one
Yeah.
like seeing people that way. I really don't think of anyone that
Yeah.
way.
There's so many different versions. I feel like it'd be easier to obliterate this with concrete examples, but
Yeah.
the one I think of, or I hear this so much from people, which is we actually see it in the DMs a lot. People write in about relationship questions, and I see this over and over and like, we would be so great. He doesn't know, she doesn't know or realize that we would be so great if only he changed this major characteristic about himself. It's like well, he'd be a different person then, and we'd be living in a different world. And also, you actually don't know for yourself what it would be like to be in a relationship with that completely different person. You've no idea. Maybe you wouldn't even be attracted to somebody who was more punctual or who wanted to make you his girlfriend quicker. Like maybe you're the one who would fall short then. It's just like there's just the thing that's happening now. And the idea of like things could be different if only we were different people. I mean, I guess, yeah.
Right, sure.
Yeah, sure.
And with everything in life all the time. If everything was different, then it could be different.
It would be different.
Yeah, if my room was more like padded and had a lower ceiling, then my sound quality would be better. But it's not. Like literally everything, literally everything in life you could say that about. It doesn't fucking matter. Like,
yeah,
I'm the same. Like, I don't really live in that space of like, if only, like, it doesn't feel productive to me. It doesn't mean I'm not like a dreamer, but I like to be more like realistic and grounded in like, okay, what's here and what can I work with? And what do I know and what do I need to find out? As opposed to like, oh, if it was this way when I know it's never gonna be that way. Like that's not the cards that you've been dealt. You know, it just doesn't feel good.
I like that you said like seeing what's here and what can I work with, because I think the other part of like the one that got away is this kind of posture of like gripping really hard at something that apparently isn't an option in your life anymore, which could be super sad and could be super hurtful and painful.
Yeah.
But that's, I feel like instead you could also look at that like if it's truly out of your control, you can't get in touch, there's nothing left to try, there's nothing left to say, then there is still space to be like, well, how did I majorly benefit from that? What did I learn from that? What was the opportunity? What was that experience about? How am I going to take that forward? What else is going on right now? Like, what do I want to try now that I have this relationship to look back on and be like, these were all the really great things about it that I miss. Like, well, you know, what is there to work with going forward instead of just like gripping on this thing in the past that clearly literally didn't work, is the one. Yeah.
You nailed it.
You nailed it.
Can I go a little? Oh wait, did I give you that one? Yeah, give me one.
You did. You want me to give you one? Okay. Oh, this is gonna be a good Jess one. Somebody wrote in, love this. You guys fucking killed it. Okay. Venmoing, I didn't say that right. Venmoing friends after dinner. Exact amount or rounded?
Okay.
What do you do?
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. I love this. This is like why I exist on this earth, I think.
You're driving. I love how you pick these things apart, these little like social dynamic things.
Because I just think, why doesn't everyone do it like me? So in that situation, okay, let's assume.
It's crazy the amount of work up for you to answer this question is wild.
Because
she's
there's
like
a lot of
stretching her back. I have an answer and it's one word.
The short answer is roundup, but this is the reason why. So let's assume that it's a check where you guys decided that we're splitting it 4 ways. There's 4 people at dinner. Everybody got about the same thing. Or maybe it's tapas and you all shared. And
maybe it's
I'm setting a scene.
She's a storyteller.
Got the same number of drinks. So you're like, we're just going to split it equally 4 ways. Actually, no. Hold on. Now I'm confusing myself. No. Here's the reason I round up. The reason I round up is because there is somebody else who's rounding down or not including tax or not including tip and just being like pretty careless about the way that they are paying this person back on Venmo. And so I like to be the person that like rounds up on every element of it.
Yeah.
If my food items cost $37.42, I'll make it 38. If the tax for each person is about $2.20, I'll make it 3. Like I just round everything up a
Big
little bit
spender,
because
big
I'm
daddy.
I'm
Because you're a big
expecting
daddy.
that for every person at the table who's doing what I'm doing, there's another person who's like being kind of fucking careless about it. And I don't want
Hmm.
the person who ultimately put their card down
To be
to
out 60
leave with
cents.
like, no, but it ends up amounting to like
Yeah, I
five,
know.
10 bucks sometimes, depending on how many people, maybe more than that. Like I am often the person that puts down my card because I just like the efficiency of being like, I got it, everyone Venmo me, like
Yeah.
we're done. I don't want to like talk about this while we're here at the table.
Right.
Um, and I am amazed at how many times people
Ooh.
like really get their fucking order wrong, like really get what they're supposed to pay me back wrong.
Ooh.
And
Interesting.
so that's why when I'm in the position to pay someone
Yeah.
back, I round up because I know that's happening. So yeah, you
Okay.
cut the part about the tapas. It wasn't about the tapas.
I loved the tapas. Don't get the tapas. Maybe it's tapas. Maybe it's a burger. Maybe it's a chicken fried burger. It's just naming the foods it could be.
Well, I do think there's a difference between there's another question here that's like splitting the check four ways or paying for exactly what you got. And I think that
Very
depends
different
on
question.
the situation. Yeah.
Yeah, actually don't think the tapas were relevant. I do want to keep the tapas, but I think it's just like, oh, you owe me 15.24. What are you gonna do? The tapas are irrelevant.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
if well, okay, if it's me and you alone and I owe you 15.24, I'll pay you 15.24 if that's what you told me to pay you. You know what I
Really?
mean?
No, I wouldn't do that. I would always round up.
Really? If
Yeah,
you
I would.
told me that that's the amount, I think there's a difference between someone,
No, because
oops,
I feel petty writing a decimal.
a decimal.
I
Okay, okay,
feel
okay.
I feel petty sending cents. I will round up always to the dollar or maybe several more dollars.
Well, I would say that the person who's saying
I don't think you should.
you
Oh
owe
my God,
me
be
X
chill.
amount should just say it in the round numbers in the first place, if that's the situation.
Well,
Like I'll tell you,
well, they
it's
they say
about
like
15, 16 is what
they
I would
say
do.
this number. No, no, no. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if they give me that number, I will round it because I don't want to be seen sending cents. I think it's
No, no, no.
embarrassing.
That's fair, but what I'm saying is like I wouldn't tell you you owe me
Oh,
15.24
oh, 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 I
after
see.
getting lunch. I would say
You owe me
Venmo
15.
me, it was like 15 or 16. Like I would be like kind of chill about it. And then and I would make sure that what I said to you was a rounded number and then whatever you paid me I'd be fine with because a
You're getting
one-on-one lunch
17. You're getting
I'm
17.
cool. I think it's
I
harder when it's multiple people. That's where my previous
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
applies more. And when you don't
Oh,
know, there's a difference between the person putting their card down, telling you how much you owe
yeah.
versus you just proactively Venmoing them without them telling you the amount that they
Oh, yeah.
calculated. You know what I mean?
True, true. Yeah, I don't like to be seen passing cents back and forth.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't like to Venmo somebody or ask someone to Venmo me for like a coffee. Like if it's
Yeah,
less than $7, which is
I
apparently how
know.
much coffee costs now, um,
Totally.
I probably won't want you to pay me back, you know?
But if someone buys me a coffee, I get very anxious about it and I'm like immediately Venmoing because I don't want them to think I'm a fucking moocher. But you're right. If somebody else did that, I'd be like, don't, be chill.
Be chill. It's the same as cents. Like
Yeah.
you sending me 6.25 for a coffee is like belittling the fact that
Our
I'm inside
friendship.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, give me another hot take. Give me another hot take.
Okay. Some people wrote in the take itself,
I ignore those.
but some of them were funny. I'll
Okay,
save
then
them. I'll save them till the
read
end.
it. Okay. You
Oh,
throw one in.
no, no, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna give you this one. Peeing in an ocean or lake.
Yeah, do it. Easy. That's not even a hot take. Do
Yeah,
it.
except what if you can't?
Then that doesn't seem like a hot take. That seems like a limitation. It's
Yeah,
not a
I
hot
guess
take.
this one only spoke to me because I'm incapable of peeing in bodies of
Stop
water.
bragging. Stop bragging.
Is this a brag? I'm so
No,
upset about
I
it.
know.
I'm so it is
I like to tell people
immensely
stop bragging when
inconvenient.
I like to say stop bragging when someone says a neutral sentence or
It's
or a
so inconvenient to my
struggle.
life. It's
Okay,
really
well,
hard.
You know what? Did we talk about how many men pee in the pool? Did we talk about
No,
this?
I don't know if we talked about that,
No?
but they
Okay.
do probably.
They do. And it came up with
The
like,
pool.
I swear to God, we talked about it on the podcast. This
Oh,
came
yes,
up
at your
somewhere.
birthday or something.
Maybe it was on my birthday. And I was like, I cannot remember how it came up, but I was just like, how often do you think people are peeing in the pool? And we went around in a group and like said what percent. And I was like, oh, it's got to be like 4% of the population, like adult people pee
Yeah.
in a pool. And everybody else we were talking to was like, oh, I think it's more like 70, 80.
What the
And I
fuck?
was like, first of all, thank you for telling me that y'all are peeing in this pool.
That is what it
And
means. Like they
that
had to
is what
have
that
done it at
means.
least once
I was
to
like,
say
that's
that.
inconceivable to me. And I've done plenty of gross things, but that just doesn't happen to be one.
Wow. I could
Yeah. And
never.
then
I mean, my body won't let me, but also I just wouldn't.
you literally couldn't. But this one guy was like, all I know is like during COVID, I would spend like all afternoon in the pool with like all my buddies drinking all afternoon. Everyone's drinking all afternoon, and no one's getting up to go to the bathroom for hours.
Okay, but couldn't they just be deeply dehydrated?
Could be. Yeah.
That's not the
It
I
could be.
just want to be
Yeah.
optimistic
Could
about it.
be. Could
You're
be.
like, yeah, and that too, and that too.
That also that.
Okay, I feel like the ones I saved were more, a lot of them were, the remaining ones are like things that I know I'll have an opinion on, but I don't know. Some of them were so specific, I kind of know that you won't have an opinion on them.
Okay, give it to me. I'm pretty good at making up opinions on the spot just to be divisive.
Okay, let me just choose one. You can come up with something for this. How about this one's actually really funny to me. Unscented candles.
Yeah, I don't have a hot take on this.
I think it's funny.
I mean, I use them. Yeah, I'm pro. I'm
You
pro
use
unscented
them because you
candles.
have those like tall ones. What are they
Yeah,
called?
I have tea lights, I have paper candles. They're all unscented.
I think that's
I actually
strange.
oh, I like to limit the scented candles because you can't be like using more than one at a time. And even if I just have one, I eventually grow to hate that smell
Wow.
because it smells like me and I hate me. So it's like I mostly I think use unscented. Yeah.
That's fascinating. My take on it, I mean, it doesn't like anger me the way that espresso does, but
Okay.
I do find it, for me, candles are for the smell.
Okay.
So I don't think I own one unscented candle. Votive candles make me really uncomfortable. They remind me of like our first communion in the second grade.
You mean tiny little tea lights?
The little tea
Tea
ones, yeah.
tea light. You're
I think
cracking
we
me up today. The way you just lean back, little tea ones. Yeah. Oh, Big Daddy.
I feel like we had to walk down the aisle of the
No, we had a
chapel at our
chalk.
school.
We had chode candles. Don't
Oh,
you
we
remember?
had
We
those
made
thick
them.
ones.
We made thickies.
Oh,
We
you're
made
right.
them ourselves in like a aluminum can. We had like soup cans or
Yes.
something, and we emptied them out. And there was a whole project where we made our first communion candles, and they were thick,
They
thick.
were thick. You're right. Okay,
They
okay,
were
okay.
thick.
That's the memory. But they were not scented. They didn't have us put like essential oils or something in them.
I
It was
don't
like
think
church
they were
candles.
scented. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
like this smells like church. Yeah.
So yeah. So I think unscented candles remind me a lot of church is what I'm getting at. And I don't
Okay.
really want that in my home.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Okay. You give me one.
Okay. Well, I'll give you one.
You got my one.
I got you one. I know you're gonna have a good answer to this. I do not have an answer to this, but I saved this for you. Somebody wrote in first. I fucking spelled FKN. I fucking love you guys. Hot take topic: Shrek 1 or 2, which has better soundtrack slash comedy slash plot. Which I love this person for writing in, and I know that just has an answer.
Oh my God, what a fucking good question. Um, I mean, for me, it's Shrek 1 all day,
Right.
every day.
All day.
I'd be
All day.
watching Shrek 1 just like on an average Tuesday when I need to unwind with a glass of wine, I'm watching Shrek. Like, that is a perfect movie. The soundtrack is
So
Smash
good.
Mouth is on the soundtrack.
So
Are
good.
you
So good.
kidding?
Yeah.
It's the best soundtrack. It's the best movie. In general, I'm always going to choose the original versus like the sequel, like the first movie out of a set, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And
You said it right the first time. You said it
policy.
right the first time. In case nobody knows what sequel means.
um yeah, so I'm always going to choose the first, but with Shrek more than anything, like it's the first. It's interesting that the person didn't ask about there's like a Shrek 3 and 4. Maybe those are
Oh,
just
interesting.
completely it's known that
Off
they're
the
off the
table.
table.
Table stakes. I've been thinking about
Table's
table
like
stakes ever since you said it. Also,
she's learning.
anyway, somebody said it. I was watching a James Bond. I was watching James Bond Casino Royale, and they said table stakes. And I was like,
That makes sense.
and I understood the scene better. Yes, I did.
Congratulations. Wow. That's
Thank you for
huge.
teaching me. Thank you for
While you
teaching me.
were
That's huge.
watching that, I was watching Shrek.
You watching Shrek?
And we were both probably wearing our hats.
Yeah.
Um, I like to
Give me
think about
one.
things that we're doing at the same time. Okay.
Hmm.
Toe socks with the patterns. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I remember them. What do you want me to say about this?
Say something.
I'm immediately seeing our friend Sheila's feet.
Yeah, she loved them.
Sheila wore not for me. I'll say that. Not for me.
I thought you were going to talk a little bit about like toe sweat. Like it's probably a nightmare for that. You can't fit a pad in those. Imagine forcing a pad up into
Oh,
those toes.
up into those toes, individually cutting out a little pad for every toe.
Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't do that. Couldn't do that. I ran out of my large pads, and so I'm having to use the small pads on my feet right now. And let me tell you what, it is not getting the coverage I would like.
Is this a problem even when you're like in your home? To catch people up in case you're new here, Caroline puts uh pads like
Sanitary pads.
sanitary pads, that's what they're called, in her socks to collect the sweat, and she does recommend it as a hack. But do
Yeah.
you do that every day regardless of like what you're doing?
No, I only do it to go out, like if I'm feeling fancy. Like if I'm leaving the house. Because in the house, I just wear slippers. And if my feet are like exposed, like in an open back slipper, I don't sweat that much. And also my home is warm. It happens, the cold sweat happens. This is the problem, you guys. The cold sweat
Oh,
happens. I sweat through my feet a lot when I'm cold. And it's not a hot thing. It's not a summer thing. It's when I'm cold. And then, in addition to already being cold, I have soaking wet socks. And
mm,
so it's like, I feel like I've gotten near hypothermia before on or something with my feet. They get so cold. Like if you're wearing cold, wet socks around all winter during
mm,
the day, it's incredibly miserable. So I put the pads in and then I have like pretty dry feet. Yeah.
okay.
I've tried the foot powder. I had a really terrible experience with the foot powder one time. You want to hear a really embarrassing story?
Yeah, please. I'm
I
thinking of
think
like Ross in
ugh,
Friends when he put on the leather pants and
oh, I don't know it.
oh, it's
A
like
lot of
a
people wrote
iconic
in
scene.
saying they hate. I thought you were gonna say it's an iconic show. Like I've heard, like I hadn't heard of. Oh, it's an iconic show from the
Some
90s.
people did submit that as a hot take. I don't
A
have
lot of
one. Like, I
people
don't
wrote
know.
in
It's
that they
fine.
hate Friends. I think it's fine. I think I probably am not good friends with someone who's obsessed with Friends.
No, I don't think. I
Yeah.
think if Friends is your favorite show and like you quote it all the time and think about it all the time and watch it every night when I'm watching Shrek, like we're probably not the same. But
Shrek. So I fucked with the foot powder for a while. Maybe when I was living in New York, and there was one family I babysat for like 3 days a week. I showed up at like 8 in the morning before school time, blah 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 blah. The parents would go to work, the kids were young, we'd hang out for the day or something, or maybe I'd take them to school. I don't even remember. And I got into their like nice New York apartment high rise and went to the elevator to go up to their apartment. And when I was in the elevator, I what happened? There was like a rock in my shoe or something, or there was too much foot powder in my shoe. And I knew that I would have to take my shoes off in their house when I stepped into
mm,
the apartment. And so in the elevator, I like took it off to like look at my feet, and then all this foot powder fell out all over the elevator,
oh my God.
like everywhere. And then I just like didn't know what to do. Like I didn't have any tools to clean it up. And so I did the wrong thing. Listen, I was like 22. I did the wrong thing and I just left it. And I walked into their apartment and kind of just like left the mess in the elevator. It was not very respectful of me. Um, later in the afternoon, I get a call from the dad. I'm still with the kids. And he said, "Hey, Angelica," still Angelica then. It's like, "I'm sorry, but did you happen to walk in earlier with a lot of foot powder? We got a call from the building manager who was watching the cameras and watched you dump a ton of foot powder all over the elevator." And I was like, "Yeah, that was me. It was an accident and I didn't know how to clean it up. I'm
Oh,
really sorry." It was pretty embarrassing.
they didn't need to call you about that.
They didn't.
They could
They
have spared you that,
didn't.
but
I
that is so
know.
funny. You made the
It was
day of
really
that
embarrassing.
building attendant. I'm
Oh
glad I'm
my
providing you
God.
entertainment, is what I
Yeah,
would have said.
he was mad. Yeah.
That is crazy to me. I
It was
mean, they
very
could have
embarrassing.
also thought that it was something else, like a white powder.
I mean, it was like a ton. It was so much cocaine. No one would ever leave that much cocaine behind. It was so much powder.
Oh.
Yeah, no one would ever, no one carrying that amount of cocaine would leave that amount behind.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
That makes so much sense, actually.
Okay, you want me to give you one?
No, let me give you another because I feel like mine aren't hitting, you know?
Okay.
And we were
I
just
think they're
talking about
hitting.
sanitary pads.
Yeah.
So here's one, and maybe it's TMI, so you tell me.
Ooh, I know what it's gonna be.
Period sex.
Oh, that's not what I thought it was gonna be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm in. I think that if a guy isn't in, they probably haven't had a girlfriend before.
That's true. That's very true. That's the take.
Yeah.
It's just a
I've
part of
and I
life.
and I dated several guys. Here's a fucking hot take. You want a fucking hot take
Yeah,
or an
I
inside
do.
scoop?
Yeah.
There's a series I did with about Street Man in my YouTube videos. Are you familiar?
Yes. Very familiar.
And there were a bunch of things he did that were like pretty disrespectful and rude. And I kept um I didn't talk about any of this on the channel because I didn't want to, whatever on the channel, but this feels more private. And there were a bunch of things he did that were very rude and disrespectful, whatever, whatever. But I kept giving him extra chances. And then the thing that finally pushed me over the edge one time, we were like at his place and we were going to hook up, and I was on my period. And I'd already just dated a guy who had a crazy, shocking freak out over period blood.
Oh my
Crazy
God.
shocking. And I'd just been, like in a relationship for 6 years. I like forgot that men existed in their 30s who could even like freak out over a drop of period blood. And so I was already kind of scarred from this previous guy. I was like, okay, people be children out here. And so I was with Street Man and I was like, well, we can hook up, but I am on my period. Like, are you okay with that? And he was like, yeah, 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 yeah. And he said it in a way where I was like, okay, no, he's not. I don't believe him. And I was just like, it's okay.
Mm.
We're just going to wait. Like, we're fine. And he badgered me so much. He probably asked me like 15 more times. And then eventually I was like, okay, it is going to be a mess. It's very messy, right? It is going to be a mess. Do you promise me? I was basically like, you need to sign this contract that's going to
Yeah.
be okay. Because I didn't know him that well, which is probably the first mistake. And then we had sex, and like a little bit of blood, like a drop of blood, got on his $20 Target sheets, and he
God.
lost his fucking mind. He
Ew.
lost his fucking mind, and which was so offensive to me, period, pun intended. But also after like we had a whole talk of me being like, I feel like you can't handle this, but you are badgering me for
Yeah.
sex right now. And I broke up with him after that. I was so pissed.
That's a good reason because
That is how it
exactly for
ended.
what you said is like you gave him the chance to say like no, let's just wait or whatever, and he insisted
He
because he
pushed
couldn't
me. He
wait.
actually pushed
He
me.
pushed you to have sex in a situation where you were like, I don't think that you really want this, and then he made you feel bad about it. What a dickwad. That's
Yeah.
I hate. I hate.
Yeah. That was the end of Street Man. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think your take is right. Period sex is like a normal part of life. And especially if you're in a relationship over a long period of time, consistently
Yeah.
having sex and comfortable with someone, it's like not a big deal. And I mean, you're going to run into it once a month. So it just kind of like you get
Seriously.
okay with it, you
It's a
know?
week of the month. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a fourth of your young
I
life.
used to be, it was always an awkward thing though when you were with somebody new and saying that I always felt
Sure.
awkward about it to take that second and be like, I'm on my period, by the way, or like when you have to run to the bathroom to take out your tampon before
Mm-hmm.
continuing and having to be like, I'm on my period, I have to run to the bathroom, or like, are you okay with that, or whatever. With a new person, it can be a little bit awkward, but if
But
anybody ever
lots,
makes you feel bad about
yeah,
it, it's more like
yeah,
because I felt awkward, not because if they were
totally.
making me feel awkward, then that's a problem with them. But
I
it
also think
just
it's
is awkward a
reasonable
little.
if it's someone new, there's lots of things that are not comfortable as they would be with someone in a relationship. I wouldn't be mad at someone new I was dating. We're still getting to know each other. If they didn't want to have period sex, I wouldn't hold that against them.
Yeah.
If you have a really, really immature, inconsiderate reaction, I'll hold that against you. But if you're just like, we don't need to have sex, like that's fine. I get it. There's lots of things that everyone gets more comfortable with as you get to know each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I feel like I am more comfortable doing that with someone who I'm comfortable with. Like,
Yeah.
just because even if no one, even if they're not making me feel weird about it, just like knowing that it's going to be messy is enough with a new person for me to be like, I don't really want to like deal with that right now. We'll
Yeah.
hold. But yeah, I think it's normal. Have
Oh,
been
yeah.
I've never been with someone who had a problem with it, which I think is probably lucky because I have friends who have told me about like
Mm.
long-term relationships where their partner had like a hard and fast no
What?
period sex rule. Yeah.
Okay, that would be really hard. Like I'd be interested to hear the story behind that, but that would be with very few exceptions other than like I found my mother's dead corpse and she was covered in period blood. Like other than
Mm.
that explanation, I would have a hard time respect. It doesn't, yeah, that doesn't feel okay. I've encountered multiple people who volunteered going down on me on my period. Like something
Mm.
that like I was not going to ask you. I would not. I was like, "Are you sure?" Um they be out there.
I would like to talk about that, but maybe it's an offline combo
I think it's an offline combo. Yeah.
because that is one where that's where my boundary is like I don't really want you going there if I'm on my period, but
If you're
have
comfortable, I'm comfortable.
I guess that's a good way to look at it, but I'm not there because I've been with
It's
people who
also
have said they'd be
yeah.
comfortable with that, and I'm just kind of
Well, the
like,
thing
but
is,
I'm not.
but there's well, if you're not comfortable, great, then don't.
Yeah,
But there's also usually like not that much blood. The blood comes from the penetrating, you know.
true.
You can do a lot of work. You can do a lot of work down there
Yeah, and not even
without
go far.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
That's all I'm
Very
gonna say.
true.
Okay, true as hell.
What's up next? Let's do like one or two more.
Okay. Well, I don't know. What does this mean? Somebody wrote in pussy crack.
I saw that.
Is that just a camel toe? What is, or the anatomy of my vagina? What does that mean?
If it's
Pussy
a camel
crack?
toe, then they have to know our take already, which is that
Right. It's pussy crack.
we
We
keep
got
you
him.
on them.
We keep
We
you
be
on
on
him.
them.
We be them.
Um, pussy crack. Yeah, that must be what
I
that
love the
means.
way you just stared into the void and said pussy crack to yourself.
Because I'm trying to literally picture the anatomy and figure out like
Pussy
if it's not
crack.
camel toe, what else would it be?
The whole thing is cracks.
That's true. The whole thing is a
The whole thing
crack.
is crack. Yeah, crack. It's like your front
Crack,
crack.
say crack again, crack.
Crack, pussy crack. I
Okay,
don't know what
that's
that
it, I
means.
think. I think that's it, though. I
Yeah.
think we did the
Okay.
take, actually.
I
Yeah.
think that's it. Okay, what else do we got? I have more serious ones.
Okay, let's do one serious, and
Uh,
then if we need to lighten it, I can give one light at the end.
Ooh, staying friends with an ex. I feel like you have different opinions on this.
I do. But
Okay.
listen, I don't care what you do ultimately. Like, I'm not going to do it, but if people listening to this feel very strongly otherwise, it's your life. Enjoy yourself. I hope it works out and I hope that you feel, safe and good and happy and respected and boundaried,
Yeah,
etc. For me, I feel I don't think it's impossible. Like, I know people who have done it
right.
successfully and have good relationships with exes, but I think it's a very slippery slope. And I think I just don't really see the appeal, actually. Like,
Mm,
I don't really feel that I would want to keep that person in my life. And
yeah.
that's not because they're a bad person. That's not because we didn't have a great friendship. Like, I understand that there are a lot of positives that you may want to hold on to from a dynamic with someone by staying friends, even when you're no longer romantically involved. But to me, I'm like, I have a lot of friends. Um, I can appreciate the time we had together and like not keep you in my close circle moving forward. And it doesn't need to be hard feelings. It doesn't need to be like
Yeah.
we hate each other or we stay friends. Like, I much prefer a middle ground of, thanks for the memories. If we run into each other, I'll say hi and be respectful and polite. If there's ever something you need, depending on who you are and kind of like where we left things, like, I can be a person who cares about you from a distance,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't need to be your friend and you don't need to be mine.
Yeah.
I don't need that friendship from that person. I just feel like it's not, once you enter romantic involvement, like, friendship is part of romantic involvement, but you can't go back to friends alone, or I just wouldn't want to.
Mm. For when you said you knew couples who did it, were they, I feel like the only time that works is like both of the exes are in new relationships for the most
Yeah,
part, I think is when that works. Yeah. If
that's
it works.
definitely, I think that applies in the couple examples I can think of. And like a lot of time passes. Maybe that's a big element of it too, is like
Mm,
people want to do that
yeah.
immediately after a
Yeah.
breakup. And
Yeah.
I just think you are doing yourself such a disservice and not helping yourself move on. And same for the other
Hmm.
person. If it's like
You have to
years
let,
and years later or
right.
whatever period of time later and it makes sense for some reason, like, okay, maybe I'm not going to do it, but like, okay, maybe.
Yeah. I think you have to let something die first. And like you, I think there is a lot of like deluding people going through a breakup, deluding themselves, which I get it. I think there actually is something like really, it almost feels tragic. It just feels really sad to me with like you could have like a whole life with someone and then you're supposed to act like kind of like it
Yeah.
never happened and you never go like I don't know. I do actually think it's really weird, but I think that's reality. So I can understand, especially when you've just gone through a breakup, grappling with it, you want to hold on to something like you don't want it to die, but like something has to die. It has to die.
Hmm.
Even if maybe you get to have something different later, it has to like there has to be a pause first. I think um I definitely have had exes. I would never like why the fuck would I want to be friends with them?
Hmm. Same.
I think my long-term ex, I I hope he never hears this, but because he would probably hate that. But I at this point I kind of think of him as like family or like a brother. Like I just like I worry about him. I
Yeah.
care. I really like worry about him. And I would I would have a friendship, but I don't reach out because I know he can't handle that.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't want to like, fuck with his head or something.
Hmm.
But I don't really see that being I don't really see that being something he is capable of in general. I don't guess I don't really know, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I do think about it because it's something about it makes me sad. Um, but it also that's just like life a lot of the time. But I have seen at least one of our good friends have maybe like an email friendship with her ex. And I think that was the first time I saw it. And they were both just like respectful and supportive. And, it's not like a weird all up in your life, but just like, oh,
Yeah.
what's going on in the next chapter? What's going on in the epilogue? It's the epilogue, basically. You watch this like long, long show with these characters you're so invested in. And it's like, what the fuck happened to them?
Right.
And I think I saw her doing that and I was like, oh, is that possible? But I think it takes a certain personalities and certain circumstances. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think what you said about like potentially being open to friendship with your long-term ex, but knowing that that probably wouldn't be right for him.
No,
I
he would
think
take it the
that's
wrong way.
honestly what it comes down to a lot is like, I think it's very rare that friendship as exes will work for both people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think sometimes, I'm not saying this is you in that situation because you're not pursuing it, but I think sometimes when people are really insistent about like wanting to pursue a friendship with an ex, it can be almost self-serving, like
Yeah. I would think it would
especially
be
if it's really
selfish.
soon after the relationship where they want to feel like, oh, we're still close, we're still friends, we still care about each other, no, we didn't do anything wrong, I'm still a good person, I'm still in the clear.
We
Like
love each other.
it's
Yeah.
like a
It's all
way
happy.
to absolve yourself sometimes
Hmm.
of, again, what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, like accountability of your role in what happened. And
Hmm.
I don't think this is all the time at all, but I have seen it play out that way sometimes. Um, and
Being
I
like, they're
just feel
fine. It's
like,
fine. It's cool. That kind of thing.
yeah, and just being like, no, we're like, yeah, a little bit of denial, like, no, we're on the same page about it. No,
Right.
it's good. And really, it's coming from a place of like not wanting to process your own shortcomings in the relationship, not wanting, I don't know, just wanting to kind of have your cake and eat it too, of like, no, we can still be friends
Yeah.
and I can move on and I don't have
Yeah.
to ever
Yeah.
think about the reasons why this didn't work. Like I can just kind of smooth that over as though it,
Yeah.
the bad stuff didn't happen. And I just think that that's, yeah, it's just selfish. And probably even if you are not in denial and even if that is somehow true for you, the assumption that that is also true for your ex, I think is a
Right.
hard assumption to make.
Seems very
And
unlikely.
I think it's very rare, yeah, that like two people line up in that way after a
And even
relationship
if you
ends.
do, even if it's like the most mutual breakup ever, and both people were so ready and so certain to move on, but they still have all this care for each other and blah, blah, blah. It's like there's still like you still have to mourn something that is dead. You
Yeah.
have to mourn things all the time, even just like as a solo person, the death of parts of identity. Like there's an identity wrapped up in that. There's still something to grieve and something to mourn. So I think the idea that like, oh, we're both for sure just ready to do the next thing. It doesn't sound very likely, but um yeah.
I would really ask yourself like what your intentions and motives are,
Yeah.
and are they more
And what's the other person
self-serving?
need? Yeah, they're going to
Yeah.
interrupt somebody else's healing, somebody else moving on. You want to have them available, so you're going to keep somebody else from moving on, maybe. I think that happens a lot.
Hmm. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's so funny. This is very obvious what I'm about to say, but when we've said it on the podcast, I've found it groundbreaking,
Oh,
which is like you get to have a lot of friends, but in a traditional monogamous relationship, you only get to have one partner.
right.
And I just think like that comes into play so much in so many of these questions of like it's a person that you dated and you had this intimate relationship that was just you and them and that no one else could be a part of, and once you want to move on to someone else being that intimate partner, that person, that old one has to die. And like you don't get to just like keep them as a collection and move them so easily between like romance and friend. Like you get to have lots of friends and you get to have one romantic partner in a monogamous setup. And so
Hmm.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess it's just like the reality is that the expectations between friends and the expectations between romantic partners are very different. And part of the setup with friends is that you know that you have other friends,
Yeah.
whereas the setup with romantic partners is that you don't. And so, like, I don't know. For some reason, that plays in my mind in this conversation
That
of
like
like,
that's the price you pay, basically, is what you're saying.
yes,
Yeah, like
yes,
that's the price of admission.
yes, that's exactly
Hmm.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a fun price, but it is. It's,
Yeah, maybe
you
it's
got to
just
do it to play
sad.
the game.
Sometimes things are just sad and like that's part of life and it's just sad.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can't end the episode on that note. Sometimes things are just sad. Okay, let's
Here's
say
one that
something else.
really spoke to me. And
Okay.
this is one where they gave us the take, but I'm so
Okay.
on board with it and like,
Okay.
just like, well done.
Okay.
People who overly hate on astrology are just as annoying as astrology fanatics.
Totally.
Correct.
People
Why
who
do
hate
you
on,
care
yeah,
so
yeah,
much?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Agree.
No, you were going to say people who hate on
I was gonna say people who like overly hate on almost anything, and then I remembered that I'm wearing a
that
hat
you're
that says
wearing.
hater. But I think my hates are all actually pretty empathetic.
They are.
I agree. I agree.
No, it's true. It's like hating something means that you still have an emotion attached to it as opposed to being indifferent. And it's just like
Yeah.
why give that energy to something that you apparently hate? What
Why
is
is
so
somebody's
upsetting to you
why is
about
somebody's
people looking at
interest?
stars and deciding things about their personality
Don't
based
ever
on
look
it?
at a star in front of me. Don't ever fucking look at a star in front of me.
Why is that so upsetting to some people? You don't have to do it. No one's making you
What does
do
that
it.
threaten? What does that threaten about your life? Yeah.
It does threaten something. I personally love it, but I have an astrology book right here.
I
But
don't.
I
And
don't
I
need
don't
anyone else
really
to love
care,
it.
people. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't care. How
I
can
don't
you
care
care? How
either.
can you ever care?
There was one more hot take submitted as a statement,
Great.
and it made me chuckle too. Toilet paper isn't that great of an invention.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine this person like writing us this take while they're sitting on the
On
toilet.
the toilet. Yeah, there's a stand-up bit. I can't remember who to attribute it to, but is it a stand-up bit? I can't remember. Somebody has talked about the fact that like if you got like poop smeared like on your knee, you would wash it off. You wouldn't just like take a paper towel and smear it around and be like clean. You would fucking wash it.
Yeah,
But then, I mean, that's basically what a bidet, the answer a bidet is trying to solve. But yeah, we're
right.
just taking paper and being like, got it.
And
Did
it's
you?
like the thinnest paper to make sure that not only is it on the surface where it stemmed from, but it's now also getting through the paper onto your hand.
Buy thicker paper, Jess. You can buy thicker paper.
I have 2-ply, but it's still pretty thin. Like
Okay.
it's not like a paper towel
I'm
thickness.
using a lot of toilet paper and I don't feel bad about it.
Oh, same. I fold and fold and fold a big wad,
Yeah.
but for
Do
the
you
exactly the
fold?
reason I just said.
Do you fold like symmetrically or do you crumple?
It's a combo. It's actually like probably pretty neurotic. But let's see. I pick it up. I think I do a crumple, an initial crumple, and then
Okay.
there's usually like the ends of it are kind of like hanging off the sides, and I'll
Okay.
like fold them in on top of the crumple.
Okay. Weird.
What do you do?
Oh, just a total crumple.
Okay.
I don't like the neat fold. I feel
No,
like it's
because
very vulnerable. I feel like it can
it's
be
still
penetrated
because the
easily.
good thing about the crumple is that it takes up more surface area, like width
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it protects
And
your
depth.
hand more and
Yeah.
depth. Yeah. As opposed to folding it is like it still stays the
Yeah. I don't like that.
the width of the toilet paper, which is not a good invention. Okay, that's it.
This has been not for everyone. I hope that you had the experience that you were hoping for today.
Of a
You can
lifetime.
have a lifetime. You can find us on Instagram at Not For Everyone Pod with the number 4. You can find Jess at Jay DeBakey, and I'm on YouTube, Caroline Winkler. We put a call out for fun reviews for us to read, but that episode where we put the call out just came out today, and nobody's done it yet, so I don't have anything to read yet. But I will read one on the next episode.
Thank you
We
for
want
saying
it.
that.
Yeah, you're welcome for me for saying that.
I had so much fun today.
I did too.
Oh, and we're gonna put the link to our merch in the description of this one since we're both wearing it and
Ooh,
we can't tease you too much. So check that out
we
if you
should
haven't.
we should make a hat that just says astrology.
Wow.
The not a Virgo hat just says astrology. And then you can find who are the unreasonable people are on the street. And this is coming from someone who doesn't like astrology. But if
Find
somebody
Street
gives you a
Man.
hard time about that, yeah, find street man,
Wear a hat. We can make a hat that just says period sex.
period sex. That
That's a hat.
do you know that's a t-shirt?
That's
Do you
a
know how well
t-shirt.
that t-shirt would sell?
Don't take the
Ugh.
idea. I shouldn't say my
Well,
brilliant merch ideas
it
live on
probably already
air.
exists. Probably already exists.
It all does.
We
Okay.
could still make a t-shirt that says crumple or fold.
That's it. Bless you
Thank
and
you.
good day.